you were to wear your strength as an article of clothing, what do you think it would look like? The verse, Proverbs 31:25, she is clothed in dignity and strength, and she laughs without fear of the future, can be seen throughout the Bible, such as the story of Rahab, and it can also be an example through our own lives. I will cover topics relating to this verse, such as what is happening around this certain verse, an example of where to find this theme outside of Proverbs, and how it applies to everyone's lives. A little bit of background about Proverbs 31:25 is it is obviously found in the book of Proverbs, but it is underneath the heading of the wife of a noble character, which is really just a long list of things that a wife should obtain. So it's like a list of just characteristics that a wife should have. Also in Proverbs 31 is the sayings of King Lemuel, and it's basically sayings of King Lemuel, which are taught to him by his mother. All of these are found in the Lutheran Service Bible. The author is believed that there is more than one author, but it's not an exact number. They're sure that Solomon was one of the authors, but they also think that there was some wise men that wrote the rest of Proverbs, besides the part that was written by Solomon. It is believed that these are wise men because they have a non-Israelite background. When in the writings it seems like it's not written by somebody with an Israelite background. All of that is found in the book written by Miller in page 164. So the time period of when Proverbs was written was through 970 to 930 BC. That was for sure written by Solomon, and then it is believed to be around 300 years later at a time of spiritual renewal that it was written by the wise men. With the understanding of all the background of this verse, of the verse in Proverbs, and where we can find it, where can this verse be shown in other books other than this book of the Bible? So I'll now talk about my cross references, and right now you can probably flip over your handout. And in the handout, this talks about, basically, one of my cross references talks about Zion and why Zion is asleep. So the verse is, "Awake, awake, Zion, clothe yourself with strength, put on your garments of splendor. Jerusalem, the holy city, the uncircumcised and defiled will not enter you again." Isaiah 52, verse 1. In the Bible, we hear in the Lutheran Service Bible, in the footnotes, it talks about how Zion was asleep in their faith. They weren't physically asleep, but they were asleep and they weren't in the faith anymore. So Christ is calling them to awake and to put on their strength. For my next you can turn over your handouts now. For the next cross reference is, "Now may the Lord's strength be displayed just as you have declared." Numbers 14:17. This verse is also talking about how strength is displayed as a part of you. Instead of being like just something you hide away, it's being shown. For the next one, I will talk about, "It is God who arms me with strength and keeps my ways secure." So 2 Samuel 22:33. Also talking about how God is arming someone with strength. It's something that you can see in believers. I will now show my visual aid about Joshua and the spies. When I start this, it's going to start from the time that the spies are coming into the city. So.
In God. He selected 2 men to sneak into Jericho and tell him about the king's army.
So the spies are going into Jericho to scout out the promised land and the king's army.
1, 2, 3 soldiers. That third one is tiny.
That's them
I'll
telling
only
you
count
about
him as
the
half
army.
a soldier.
Mom, we're spies. That means we have to be quiet.
Oh, quiet. Right.
These are Israelites spies that Joshua sent in also.
Oh, King, I'm only a harmless traveling merchant.
Liar! You're a stranger in
So
Jericho,
in this
so I
part, the
say
king
you're a
sent
spy.
out a group to try to find the spies because he knew they were there, but he couldn't know who
He
they
can't
were.
do that!
And the spies knew the king was looking for them.
More spies! Israelite spies!
That's being quiet.
Catch them!
So the king goes after the spies to try and pretty much just get rid of them from Jericho. But the spies end up going to Rahab, who is a prostitute, and that's where they stay. So this is, Rahab had allowed them into her house
Under here.
to stay. And although she
Open
is
your doors.
believed to
Power
not be a
of the king.
believer, she still had the strength to hide the spies and
The Israelite
Do better.
spies. Did you see them?
They were here, but they ran toward the city gates. If you hurry, you might still catch them.
okay, so in that part, Rahab had told the king that the spies were here. She told him that they had come to her house, but she lied to the king and told him that they left and that they were somewhere else. So the story ends that the spies waited 3 days until the search was up for them, and then they returned to Joshua to tell them, but the spies also added in the fact that Rahab had kept them safe. Okay. The story of Rahab is an example of strength because Rahab had the strength to hide the spies. She showed her strength and her faith by doing God's will, and that was against her belief. As we have seen this theme through different stories, we can also see it every day in our own lives and through those around us. This can affect everyone. Strength affects everyone, believers or non-believers. We, as believers, know that we get our strength from God, but as non-believers, we're an example to them. Like, we are strong in our faith, and maybe they don't have that right now, but we're still, as we're strong through God, they can also see that, and maybe that will influence them to believe in God. I chose this verse because in my life right now, I'm going through a very, very hard time. My parents have just been going through a divorce, and I felt like the verse has always been a part of my life through confirmation, and I think finding strength in God has been very enlightening and a very huge part of my life. The verse which I discussed throughout my speech is seen in everyone's lives and through the stories such as Rahab. We now see the history of Proverbs 31:25, how strength is used outside of Proverbs, and how strength is a contributor to everyone's lives. The theme of strength is demonstrated every day in our Bibles and through our experiences.
Thank you very much. Let's give a round of applause. Yay. Thanks, Abby. And